Hey Creating Maven, I'm Joy Spencer, your reframe specialist, with one important message. Your real work, it's not your job or your career. Your real work is what you create. And what you create is what sets you apart and makes you incomparable. It's your legacy. I'm here to show you a whole new way of working so you can create with your gifts, make a unique contribution, and finally get paid to be yourself. This is Reframe to Create. I was floored when I got the text. Fired. No, not me, but someone I work with. Just like that. I felt those words enter my eyeballs and radiate through my entire body like they were meant for me. What in the world? How? Why? Wow. Just like that, y'all. Just like that, with a snap of a finger. It's over. It's done. They're out. I was shook, y'all. I mean, I know I talk about being prepared for this, and I think about it a lot. I think about it often, but it's a whole other thing when it shows up just as you're talking about it. We were all shook, all the colleagues. The news ripped through our grapevine and had us all reeling like a bomb had just gone off. Shook to the core. How would you feel if this happened to you today? You get called into a meeting and this is the news. You're fired. You're done. You're out. Toodles. How would you feel? Liberated because you already know the value of what you bring and know that there are plenty of places that want and will pay for what you got? Would you be confident because you know exactly who those people are right now? Or would you feel lost, crushed, untethered, and deflated, having no idea what to make your next move? Maybe you've already had this experience and know exactly how you would feel because, hey, you felt it, exactly this. No matter if you had something else lined up or if you were blindsided, hearing those words does not feel good. This just happened, y'all, and it drives home what I've been talking to you about in the last 2 episodes. In episode 56, Liberate Your Work with Sawita Kamara, it was about being more than ready for anything, whether it's you firing them or them firing you. It's about always being ready for what's next because your work is liberated. Liberating your work is not about your job or your career. It's not about liberating yourself from a job necessarily, although sometimes you might get liberated against your will. But liberating your work is about liberating your work from your employer. It's about being mission-minded and owning your work, owning what you create at all times, and always knowing how to pull income for what you do from multiple sources. That's the key. Your work being liberated from your employer is work that you're able to pull income for that same work from multiple sources. It's not captured by one employer. In episode 57, I got down to practical how-tos of doing this. It was a practical how-to episode for building and diversifying your work portfolio so that your work is truly liberated and you can be paid to be yourself in more than just one place. And that probably left you with a roadmap, but still wondering about a few things. And I want to get into that today. Maybe after listening to episode 57, you thought to yourself, Joy, I'm intrigued, but what does this look like exactly? Paint the picture for me. I want to see this. What does this look like for me? Well, that's what I want to do for you today. I got you. But before I get to that, I want to make a distinction. Typically, here at Reframe to Create, I've been encouraging you to create with your gifts. And when I've done that, I haven't cared what you do or create on your day job, because creating with your gifts doesn't have to be limited to what you do on your job. So, for example, one of my friends has worked for nonprofits much of her career, but she has a very creative streak. She has an ability to design and build things. Specifically, my friend is amazing at designing and building handbags. These things are legit head turners, y'all. Everywhere I've gone with one of her bags, I get compliments and inquiries from everyone. I mean, everyone. Women, men, white folks, black folks, all kind of folks. Everyone who sees me with one of these bags comes over and is like, ooh, wow, where'd you get this? Like, oh my gosh, this is so amazing. It's so cute. What's going on with my friend? What's she got going on? Well, she's creating with her gifts and offering her gifts in service. And in this case, a paid service because she sells those bags. And this is a great example of what I always talk about, creating with your gifts. But what I'm talking about when I say liberate your work, it's slightly different. It's connected, but slightly different. The work I'm talking about in this context is more directly aligned to exactly what you're already doing on your day job. You see, many people's side hustles tap into other ways and aspects of themselves, other ways in which they show up, other ways in which they're creative. Like you may be a doctor who bakes cakes on the side, or you may work for a financial institution but facilitate sessions on making pottery on the side, or you may be an executive who acts and plays on the side, right? You have one thing that's happening on your day job, but then creating with your gifts leads you in a different direction. It leads you to create something else that you might not be creating on your day job. Maybe it's connected, but there's more room and flexibility, right? You might be creating something different. It may be any number of things, right? Any number of combinations like what I've described are just a few examples. But they have you, the key thing is it has you venturing into areas and other aspects of who you are on the side, aspects that you may not necessarily be leveraging on the job. But liberating your work, what I'm talking about right now is different. It's about liberating your work, specifically looking at the body of work that you do in your day job already and seeing how you can leverage that exact same work, how you can liberate that work and do that same type of work elsewhere, ideally in many elsewheres. That's what I want to help you zero in on when you think about liberating your work and think about what it looks like for you. This is a reframe I want you to get, that you don't have to only get paid to do what you do already from one place. I'll say it again. You don't have to only get paid to do what you do right now from only one place. You can get paid to do the same thing from other places. The only limit is the time and energy you're willing and able to devote to this. But it can be done. And it starts with that reframe. It starts with your mind shifting and thinking and being open to the possibility. I'm not just painting a pie in the sky vision of this, This is what I'm also doing and what I've been building for years. This is what I've also seen others do successfully. For me, it looks like this. For years, I've been honing my craft of strategic narrative building and storytelling for teams and individual leaders. I've developed workshops, frameworks, as well as attended and learned from other workshops and frameworks. I've been in both a learning and doing posture for a number of years. But I haven't just let all this goodness sit with my one employer. I've been open to contracting opportunities to do more of this amazing work and serve others who are interested in it. I haven't focused only on this being through large gigs, which I know can be a distraction and an excuse for a lot of folks. Folks think, oh, you got to go big or you got to go home. No, because as I mentioned before, when I talked about this is kind of limited by your time or energy, if you have a full-time job, you have to manage that time and that energy for anything else that you're doing in addition to it after hours, right? So you got to think about and take all that into account. But it doesn't mean that it's zero or that it's impossible. After all, you're not trying to burn the candle at both ends. But because what I'm contracting and doing when I contract, because it's not a completely new field of work, it's not a mental drain on me. I'm leveraging the way my mind muscle is already operating much of the day, but I'm doing that in other spaces. The storytelling work and workshops I do and the narrative building work that I do internally mirrors much of the work that I do externally with other contract work, like with Story District or with Speaking Your Brand. My mind is on the same track already. And in fact, I learn much and grow my muscle in a way in these other contracting roles that my full-time job ends up benefiting from, because I have this ongoing growth and additional insights and a larger community of accountability partners and also intellectual partners and other people who I'm learning from. So they're also benefiting from my exposure and engagement with other folks in the field and doing additional work in the field. So I help people like you who want to help their teams, their organizations, or their movements to transform, innovate, and create the new, but they're stuck and they don't know how. I help them get clear and aligned so that they can mobilize. I help them get a new actionable strategic vision through narrative and story building. And when I work with them one-on-one, I help them to unearth and craft their stories for connection and influence for positive impact. For me, I'm not reinventing the wheel because what I do in my day job aligns with what I want to do elsewhere. It aligns with my mission. So I don't see any reason to only do it in one place and in one space. So that can be an option for you too. You may be someone who has a background in teaching, and on the side, you may take on a short-term or a one-day teaching gig of some sort. Or maybe, like someone I know, you can create teaching modules that you load up to YouTube and get paid for that, all in line. Like, the day thing is in line with the thing that you're doing after in other spaces. Or maybe you code. There's no reason why you can't find other places other than your day job that would value the same work that you do. It's truly you liberating your work from your employer when you remember that, hey, this thing that I have to offer, it's valuable, period. And if I can work out the schedule and the energy piece, it's something I can offer in service elsewhere. It's something I can get paid to do any and everywhere. This is what my editor, Tim, who's been in the radio business for years, also did. Years ago, he was working at a national radio company doing his thing, being an amazing radio host. Then he picked up another gig doing the same thing, but with a private radio company. And people were looking at him like, what? Wait, what? You can't do that. You're two-timing. But why were they thinking that? Because the radio stations he worked with didn't care. In fact, they loved it because they were getting the goods from him. They were getting the value he offered and enjoying the impact. So who says there's only one way to do this? Who says the old model is the only option you have? Who says you've got to only pull income for the work that you do from one source? Like, who says? It's 2023, y'all. Remember Carol from episode 54, becoming better at navigating transitions? Well, she shared how she does the same thing. She's been teaching at a university for the past 14 years on entrepreneurship and marketing and has gotten involved in and led many of their women's initiatives. And guess what her focus is in her business that she also has? Women's entrepreneurship and marketing. This is what her business and podcast called Speaking Your Brand are all about. So you see, her work is liberated. She's doing similar work in two different places, one with an employer and the other in her own business. And they love that she has a business because it informs and enhances the work she does with her students and what she can offer to them. She's liberated her work from her employer and is offering it in service in many other places and spaces. And this is something that I have seen in these two cases and in my case and in other cases, that when you get to liberate your work, it helps both places. It helps all the places because you're flexing your muscle, you're learning new things, you're exposed to new things, and all the places benefit from your continued growth and learning in this area, in this field. This is what you can do too. It can take many forms and shapes, whatever shape makes sense for you. Your liberated work can show up in a side business, but it doesn't have to. It can be contract work or consulting work that you pick up on the side. It can be a whole host of things. It can be long-term, it can be short-term, whatever. This practice of liberating your work from your employer does something to your brain. It opens you up to realize that what you do is valuable, and not just in one place, but in the broader market. And you don't have to pull that value one job at a time. You can pull it from multiple places all at the same time. If you haven't started this work, I don't want you to despair. And if right now you have no idea how you would go about this, I don't want you to freak out. This is not an overnight thing. It requires exploration, identification, and then building. It takes time. But you can start today. You definitely should start today, because have you been watching what's been happening in this job market? It is volatile. It's unpredictable. But the most important thing you must remember is it's disloyal, y'all. No matter how much they tell you, we're a family, they are not your mama who loves you no matter what. They will cut you in a split second when it suits them. It's not personal, they say. It's just business. And don't you forget it. So if after all this, you're feeling a little lost and overwhelmed, I get it. Believe me, I get it. But I don't want you to stay in that feeling for too long, because I can help. I can help you because this is what I do. I help people like you figure out how they can liberate their work and get paid to be themselves. I can help you build and diversify your work portfolio. I can help you get started on this critical and extremely important journey. Because it shouldn't take hearing the words, "you're fired," to make you start this work. I mean, look around you. In the last few years, we've had a global pandemic, which meant everyone was suddenly working at home. And after the shock wore off, blowing productivity levels out the water. Then we had the great resignation, then quiet quitting, then massive layoffs, loud quitting, and who knows what next. I don't even know what we're in right now. Inflation is running around like a wild beast, and interest rates are tap dancing all over our heads. It's wild out here. You know this. You feel this. You're experiencing this. There is no such thing as safe and secure. There's no such thing as stability. There's no such thing as a sure thing. When it comes to your work, you've got to bet on you. You've got to own your work fully because things are topsy-turvy. The power that comes from owning and liberating your work is portability and referability. It's being able to fly higher and faster away from disaster when it all starts to crumble. And this is something you've got to have sorted for you like yesterday. And if not yesterday, then today, so we can build for your tomorrow. And the goal is for you to be in a position where you can not only confidently say, but confidently know that your work is liberated and that you can get paid to be yourself anywhere you want and everywhere you want all at once. Remember the person I told you about at the beginning of this episode who got the boot? Well, there's someone who, from what I can see, has been doing the work to liberate their work long before this moment happened. They had their mind right and were already building and diversifying their work portfolio. So even though it was a shock, they were already in motion towards their next. How about you? Do you know your next, or would something like this catch you off guard? Let me help you be sure. Let's work together. We can start slow. We can start with a resume excavation to find your minimal viable product for a specific aspect of your work that will liberate. Let's do this. Don't wait another second. Visit reframetocreate.com/resume-excavation. That's resume-excavation spelled EXCAVATION. And schedule a resume excavation session with me so that we can get this ball rolling. See you soon, Creating Maven. Until then, remember to always ask yourself, what will I create?